Some of my friends have bought a house, a reasonably priced 3 or 4 bedroom. Not expensive, but enough to tie them to a 30-year mortgage. They work a 9-hour day and travel 2 hours to get there and back. By the time they get home, relax, sleep, they have to get up and do it all again. Sometimes they say they feel a little bit trapped. Realistically, half of the rooms in their house are empty all the time. And they're always looking forward to their next holiday, away from it all, the house included. Apparently, this is quite normal. My partner Andrew and I are about this point in our lives, but the idea of striving for this kind of lifestyle seems out of balance. Health, nature, and time feels like it's being traded for house, money, and stuff. I guess most of us follow the same path. Buy as much as we can afford, in the best area we can afford, and adjust our lifestyles to suit. Usually this means a big house in the burbs with a bit of a commute. The problem I have with this is that I believe our physical environments enforce habits, both good and bad. We build the world's biggest houses and fill them with stuff, worsening our ecological footprint. Many of our houses are quite insular, turning their backs on neighbours and the public street. We take out crippling mortgages in our pursuit for the great Australian dream and sacrifice our welfare, our relationships, and our hobbies. So this was a bit of a problem for us. What we really wanted was something a lot smaller and more flexible than what the market offered. We wanted to buy something within our means and have our lifestyle adapt our home, not the other way around. Our homes could be so much more and take so much less. They could offer us easy ways to process our own waste or recycle our water. They could offer us ways to collect and monitor our energy usage or foster connected communities. And of course, like many problems, this isn't just a personal problem. This issue is broader. It's on a national and global scale. Our homes demand huge amounts of energy to build and operate. Not only this, but they produce large amounts of waste. And the land clearing required for new low-density development is an ongoing problem. And yet, we stubbornly march forward, building bigger and bigger houses yearly. The average floor plan size, or the average area of our houses, has steadily grown over the past 15 years. And simultaneously, the number of people living in these houses has declined. And to top it all off, many of us can't even afford to buy a house. The average price of our houses in Australian capital cities is now more than 7 times our average annual income. That's huge. So last year, my partner and I, and a builder mate of ours, teamed up with his small crew as well to design and build an alternative. Something based on our desires and not the market expectations. You may have heard of the term a tiny house before. In our case, it's essentially a fully functioning house condensed down into 18 square metres, which is 2 car parking spaces. The product is a home that is transportable, more affordable than the average house, and also more environmentally friendly. So let me give you a quick tour. The house is built on a trailer, so you can tow a fully functioning house onto site and park it there. You enter the house via the deck. The deck is made up of modular panels that attach to the side of the house when you arrive on site, doubling the width. The doors and windows are made of recycled floor joists of old cottages, and this recycled timber feel is continued through on the bench tops, the shelves, and the floor, the decking boards. Because space is such an issue, it was important to maintain good views through the house. So the front entry windows and doors line up with the windows in front of the kitchen. Once inside, you're presented with long views through the house. The rhythm of the portal frames helps to organize the space and reduce the feeling of clutter. Up one end is an L-shaped lounge space, and behind that is floor-to-ceiling storage. By day, this is a lounge space, and by night, a bed is lowered down from the ceiling. In the central space, on one side is the kitchen bench, and on the other side is a narrow bench which turns into the vanity and the laundry space. And at the far end is the bathroom, which is separated from the main space by a sliding door. The bathroom contains a full-size shower and a composting toilet, because this one was designed to be able to be off-grid. Above the bathroom space is a loft, which could be used as additional sleeping space for a double or a queen bed, or for more storage space. It was really important for us to make the space feel a lot bigger than it actually is. And some of the strategies we used for this were the high ceilings with the louvers, white walls. Views were carefully organised through and down the space, and strategic placement of some mirrors. Of course, aesthetics aside, it was important that it functions really well as a house. So in such a small home, storage was really important. We had to exploit every opportunity we could. Under the floor, in the walls, around the wheel arches, in the furniture. Of course, as well, we had to enact different scenarios of how the space would be used. So what would we do when we had guests over? And how could the space be rearranged for various different activities of the day? So far, the capacity has been 30. In designing the house, we had to fit a lot of things into quite a small space. But for us, the ultimate measure of success was, were we able to retain the essence of a home? Sure, it's not for everyone, but it suits us well. Being built on a trailer meant that there are many alternatives for how the space is used. People who own land could expand their space by adding an additional bit of accommodation. Those that don't own land, it can open up many options for them, and that is the case with my partner and I. Arrangements can be made, and if you can bring your home with you, it's amazing where you can find places to live. There's also opportunities for people who have live-in workers or dependent family members, even holiday accommodation. Of course, there's also further things to consider with movable small modular homes about disaster relief housing and communities that want to be off-grid or more remote properties. And these, a tiny house that can function fully off-grid works well in those scenarios. Another issue that is worth briefly mentioning is our ageing population and various different ways our housing might not be tailored well enough for that, and how small dwellings could be used either in the property of children for elderly parents, or even in their own the back of their own properties, and they could rent or sell their larger house and still stay in their own community. With a bit of creative thinking and collaboration with councils, developers, neighbours, friends, family, I believe we could overcome a lot of issues we have with our housing. Whether we like it or not, our housing is a reflection of who we are and what we value as a society. So the status quo of Australian housing should concern us. We're building bigger and bigger houses, and we need not. Perhaps we should not. I don't want to try and convince you all to live in a tiny house. What I would like to pose is a challenge to dismiss our preconceptions, to put aside those preconceptions about our home, and to really think, what do we want our home to provide? I think that only when we get to that point can we reflect on what's really important in our homes and our lifestyles. It's very difficult to put a price on a lifestyle, but for me, it's definitely worth more than the fourth bedroom.